Mhm.
Hello, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Daring Night. With me today, I've got Harold Wolpoff. Harold, you're in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about 8 strategies for small, mid-sized businesses to generate business.
It's always enjoyable to speak with you and definitely to share this information with people. So thank you for having me.
So no problem. Howard, so where can people find you?
You can find me at my website, profitmasterbusinesssolutions.com. I'm also very active on Twitter at hwolpoff, HWOLPOFF, and on LinkedIn, it's under Howard Wolpoff.
Fantastic. And you are pretty active, and if people don't know, you've been doing this 30 days of marketing mavens, which has been really interesting. You've been getting marketing people together and doing things like this, and that's well worth checking out on your site as well, isn't it?
It was a great experience. I had the opportunity to interview marketing experts from around the country, and you were definitely one of them. And it was just being able to share those stories of different niches and different experiences that people have had with their clients, and then be able to share it. Now, at first it was a video series. Now I put it out as a podcast, 30 Days of Marketing Mavens. You can find it on Apple, iHeart, and Spotify. And now I'm working on a second one, which really I'm sitting down with small business owners. I call it small business marketing then and now. So I'm talking about how they marketed their businesses when they launched, what they've done in the process until now, and how COVID-19 has affected their marketing and their results.
That's fantastic, because you can share. I mean, it's great to share ideas and the way that people have changed, and that means that people can listen in and understand what they may do or may not do.
It's going to be an example for everyone, because there are a lot of stories I have where they really didn't do a lot of marketing. They just started and had a lot of word of mouth. There are some that did different types of ads to kick off. I just dealt with one interview this week of he has a winery, and he really found just a quick way to get it all started without vines, without distribution, and everything is going to be. Everyone has an interesting story, and it's always fun to share it.
So, I mean, that's a good example. I mean, if you're going to start a business, the place you normally start is to put up a website. And websites are interesting, but what's your view?
Websites are definitely interesting, and there's definitely different types of websites. But my concern when I look at businesses is that they see websites as a digital brochure. A lot of people will jump onto Wix, and nothing against Wix, because you can really design some really great websites. But most people who are doing it don't have any idea of how to design a website. So everything looks kind of basic. I actually took on a client this week, and I purely all I wanted to do for her was fix her website on Wix, because it just pained me that she wasn't getting her message out. And that's the problem. A website should be a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week salesperson, and not just a digital brochure. And you have to write the website in the right way, so that when people come to your site, that they're pausing, that they're stopping to read and absorb what you have. Otherwise, they may spend 10 to 30 seconds there if it loads up at a good pace, and then go on to your competitor if you really aren't speaking to them.
I think that's really important, because I think the website's changed. If you go back 10 years ago, you needed to have a website, and it was a destination for people. It was something that people go to. But there's now so many websites, and they generally look the same. I mean, I've seen some research recently that showed, was it 10,000? They did a research of 10,000 websites, and they were pretty much all the same. And now people tend to see a website as more of a validation. Does the company exist? And the bounce rate, as you say, bounce as in you go in and you bounce off. People go there, oh yeah, they exist, and that's it, and they're gone.
People's attention spans have gotten shorter and shorter, especially when you're loading it on an iPhone as opposed to just on a desktop. You really want it to come in fast, and to be able to flow and be able to read it. There's a lot of companies out there that built a website 10 years ago and feel they don't ever have to do anything again because it's up. but those bounce rates, they don't even check, but those bounce rates are quick and fast. They're in and out. They see something that won't work on the phone. It looks like a website on a phone, and it's done. A lot of websites do have that same look of the slideshow on the top with the menus, and sometimes with the call to action, which is just the phone number or the free consultation box, hoping someone's going to put something in. And then I have what I call the pretty websites with things flying fast in. It looks cool, and they really sold the business owner on this is sleek and everyone's going to love it. But again, if you don't have a way to communicate with someone as soon as they come in, they don't want to see a slideshow. They have a question that's going on in their head. And if you can answer or take part in that conversation they're having, which is there's a problem they have and they don't want, and there's a result that they want but don't have. Whatever the topic is, whatever the theme is, that is what's going on in their head. And if you can start being part of that conversation, you then can work on being a possible, they may hire you to do service. But if you don't, and if the website says nothing, then you're out of the game immediately.
So what things do people need to have on a website that you say they're must-haves? So
I call it the conversion equation, and it really is to start a conversation with people. And if you think about it, and I'm going to use an archaic word called newspapers. And newspapers, the especially when you have a lot in the marketplace, they're fighting for your attention with a real headline that's going to grab your eye, and it's an interruption. You're looking at the stand, there's a couple of newspapers, and one headline grabs you. You've been interrupted, and you're going to grab that newspaper and read it. A website is somewhat similar. An interrupt is having a headline that answers into those questions. Engage, which is a subheadline that follows up with a question that really is telling that story that you want to be a part of. Educate is really the pitch, and an offer that's compelling and irresistible the prospects can't turn down. Now, and I go back to saying you want your website to be a 24/7 salesperson. The offer is work with me. Here's a free consultation. The pitch leads into this offer and really is, let me share with you some of my knowledge, and not just now, but on a continual basis, because my end goal is to get your email address. That box that people say, put here for a free consultation, everyone is expecting a free consultation. It's not going to make me fill up my email box with your information. However, if you have a checklist of the 5 things you must do because of COVID-19, or if I'm planning a wedding, 5 things that you must watch out for to make sure your wedding is not a complete disaster, and further information that goes along with that. So now it's a kind of a course of that you're taking part in. There's value that you're getting for the trade of the email address. And once I have the email address, I now know who you are, and I can start the process of you being a prospect and trying to get you in to give you an offer.
So so we assume that the website is at the beginning of the buying process, and what we're going to do is that we're going to capture the person's email address. But I don't know about you, but for me to give my email address over, I need to have something in return, and it needs to be pretty valuable.
Exactly. There has to be something that will resonate. And again, it has to be an irresistible offer. Something that's really going to resonate in their minds that they will give you this information. Now, there are alternative ways based on how people are finding you. On a lot of pages you'll go to on Facebook have the bot. And if it has a bot there that's asking you questions and you respond, they now capture your information in a different way. But the key is, we don't want, if I'm the business owner, I don't want the people seeing my information to be invisible. Once they're invisible, I don't know who you are. I don't know how to speak to you. So you may have gotten the right impression, you may have gotten the wrong impression, you may have gotten an incomplete impression. But if I can't go into a real sales pitch and conversation with you, then you're lost to me when you had interest. And that's the thing. If someone has interest, you want to make sure that you work on providing them with as much information as possible, because they're on a journey deciding who they're going to work with. And in the end, you want that journey to end with you.
So what do you do with the email address once you get it?
Well, that's really the step number 2. It's setting up a autoresponder email campaign, and immediately once someone hits send on that enter on that box, you want an email going out to their email box with that attachment so they have that file that we're talking about. And there's somewhat of a call to action at the end of the email. Now, 2 days later, 5 days later, a week later, whatever schedule you think is the most reasonable for your prospect, you're sending them additional follow-up information based on that theme. All of it ties into let's sit down for a conversation. Here's a link to my calendar. What is the best way to reach you, and try to get them to respond back so that this conversation takes place. It really is prospecting and trying to get someone to be a customer. You have at least 5 to 12 touches that you need to do. Everyone is so busy. It's something might be on their mind, but may not be fully on their radar. To get on their radar, to them decide, okay, today's the day I'm going to respond. It might be that 7th email or a phone call that you followed up with, or a text, in different ways of communicating with them. But having that rhythm of an email gives you a number of different touches that you've written months ago, but they're just getting it now, and that's one of the up to 12 touches that counts.
So you've been through this process. They've been to the website. You've engaged with them on email. I'm guessing that at this point if you're talking to them, there has been no discussion about price, but there's what you're not doing is basically going in and saying, I've got this big product and it's a big price. You're probably starting off quite small. But what you want to do is sell more than that.
You always want to maximize what you're selling to someone and giving them the value of what they're looking for. With these type of offerings, you want to provide them with information of how much they're going to get before they're going to hear what the price is. Now, once you have, there are different ways to get prospects other than just your website. And there are other ways to generate higher revenues once you have someone in the process of making a purchase. So one of the ways I'd like to use with my clients is joint ventures. Your network is very valuable, and having the right relationships with people who have the same customer as you it can be incredibly valuable. If you are able to create a contractual relationship with someone on a joint venture, and
give us an example, Howard.
So you are a landscaper, and you go out to your client every week, and you cut their lawn, and you do different work and try to make their house look nice. But you also have an eye for what's wrong with the house. So I'm not just looking at the grass. I see that there's a problem with the fence. I see that there is something that's loose on the deck.
The gutters need cleaning.
The gutters need cleaning. There's issues with the grass because there's no sprinkler system. I have a relationship with someone who does all of these things, and the relationship we have is, if I have a lead, I'm going to pass it on to them, and if they are able to contract with that lead, they'll give me 10% of the revenue that comes from it. So it encourages me to keep providing them leads, and vice versa. If they send me a lead, I'll give them 10%. That's why you contract it all out. But if you are trusted by your customer, if I'm passing leads for the 6 or 7 things I'm finding wrong at the house, and I tell them, so I'll state this before, I'm originally from New York, so the way you present this is, I got a guy who does roof, I got a guy that does sprinkler systems. And this is a lead that other company would never get, because they weren't really looking, but in the back of the head, they knew it was a problem. I'm providing it to them, and in trade for passing on this lead, you're providing me with 10% of the contract. That's additional revenue in my books.
So what about when you're structuring the pricing of the product, what is it that you can do in terms of structuring the price? Because we always having to go in and sell low, but what we try and do is build that out. Can we do upsell and downsell or cross sell? Is that something that we would be able to do?
Having a good idea of what your products and services are is the key to what the pricing strategy should be, because upsells and cross sells and downsells are very, very valuable to this. So in a downsell situation, if I'm a if I'm a gym, and of course maybe not in these times, but stick with me on this. If I'm a gym and I have a 1-year membership, and someone comes in and says 1 year is too much for me to lock in, I really don't know the facility, I'm going to say no, and they're going to walk out the door. That gym just got $0. But if they're then able to offer a 3-month membership or a 1-week membership with a price to it, they're receiving revenue from it. There's an opportunity to now have them as a prospect for a 1-year membership, and hopefully they become a member in the process. You now have to nurture them over their experience over 3 months. Having that secondary lesser offer that might be better for one. In this situation, it was a timeline issue, but also could be a pricing issue. They might not have $1,000, but they may have $750. So something a little bit less, but still valuable at $750 might give them the reason to say yes, because you spent all the time selling them on the value of what you're offering. It's now just finding the right piece of it. If you are making the transaction, you have the opportunity to upsell and cross-sell. And I like simplifying it as much as possible. Anyone who's familiar with McDonald's can easily visualize that upsell is, would you like to supersize that? And cross-sell is, would you like fries with that? So if you're selling the B product at $750, you have the opportunity right before they finalize to offer them the A product at $1,000. And if they still back to the $750, if you have something secondary that goes along with it to bundle, and you offer them that for $150, it gives you an opportunity to make more money, because amazingly enough, 34% of the time that you offer an upsell or cross-sell, people are going to say yes. So in the inverse of that is you've been leaving money on the table a third of the time because you're not making that offer. So worst comes to worst, they say no, and they're still saying yes to your original offer.
To the original offer.
If they say yes to your upsell and cross-sell, look how much additional revenue you just brought in.
Yeah, I know whenever I bought a car, there's always do you want chip insurance and tire insurance, and do you want this and do you want that? And sometimes, because you're spending, the psychology is because you're spending a lot of money on a car, even if you're buying a second-hand car like I've done, it's still a lot of money. All of those things seem like a little bit of money.
It really can, if you're doing it the right way and you have that sales touch, you really it can show them the value. And that's what people want. They're comfortable taking out their credit card if they see the value. If they don't see the value, then they're going to be reluctant to spend any money, or any additional money. It's all about creating the value for someone and making them comfortable with who you are too, because also there's a personal touch to it. They have to be happy with the relationship that you're creating, especially if it's going to be something long-term. Like for example, with the car, they want you to come back in 3 years to 5 years for your next car. So relationship to them is important, and you'll still get postcards and other touches along the way during the interim years as they're waiting for your car to come back, because they want it twice. They want to buy it back so they can resell it, and they want to sell you a new one. So again, a relationship is bound with this value concept.
And so what about what's your feeling about discounting then?
I hate discounting. that flat out, because discounting really kills profit margins. And I know that people do it because they're trying to encourage people to come into the store and into their business. And sometimes there's value to it, but really, if you want to come up with a concept to show them great value, you want to come up with a bundle as opposed to a discount. So if you start to do the math, even at 10% of a discount, you might have to sell 50 of something that you would only have to sell 30 of without the discount. If you start discounting 30, 40%, unless you're a tremendous store, a corporation, you can absorb that into your profit margins. I gave an example earlier in the year for Mother's Day. My wife wanted us to add to some patio furniture, and I knew Target was the one that we had bought some pieces from before and wanted to match. I looked at the price, and there was no discount, but I knew they discount. So I said, let's see what happens in the next week. And lo and behold, the next week it was 20% off. So because of that, Target got what, $150, $200 less of my money because they discount. And people know that, and they'll sit on those discounts and not spend the money with you. But if you can come up with a bundle that shows them 4 times the value, they may actually spend 2 times the price with you. So again, it comes down to understanding your products, understanding your customer, what their needs are, getting into their head that there is a problem they have and they don't want, and a result they want but don't have. And you can keep the dollars without having to give them away, and even make more dollars by coming up with the right value bundle.
Yeah, it's. I think people often, when they do discounts, they'll start off with 10%, then 20%, and 30%, rather than saying, "Well, I'm going to start off with 5%, 2%, and then 1%." And there's one of the things that I learned in. I did a negotiation course, and the negotiation person always said that people will negotiate until you say no.
It's true. It's true, and you can use those smaller percentages as a customer relations tool. As you want to create a program of frequent flyers and more than occasional shoppers, and give them little give backs. That's a budget line, and you create a budget line for that, and that becomes a marketing expense as opposed to a marketing investment, as opposed to a loss in revenue.
Yeah.
Then that makes a whole lot of sense. But if you're just doing it to get people in the door, you're losing revenue and you're losing profit.
So one of the ways, one of the best ways of creating more revenue or more profit is to basically expand your products, isn't it? So what's your view about that?
One is expanding your products. And again, you have to have a sense of what you have and what kind of space you have and what kind of offerings you have, and if this is what your clients want. Another way is, and it has to be measured and timed out, is raising prices. I wouldn't suggest raising prices in 2020. It's definitely not the right time. You want to be there for your customers as much as possible, but wipe the slate clean and everything's normal. If it's been 3 years since you've raised your prices, you can raise it 5 to 10%. And you can test it out by going up little increments on certain things and seeing if there's any type of dip in sales. If there's not, then do it across the board. And for such a small amount, 10%, people aren't going to just drop what they're doing and go somewhere else. If you do it 20, 30, 40%, it's a whole different story, and you've really not been in line with what your customer is thinking. So there's nothing wrong with raising your prices. Unfortunately, it's part of a cost of doing business, especially if you're being charged more if you're just selling an item and then selling it to on market. You have to make, because anything that's been increased that you're not, goes back to your profit margin. So you need to make sure that you are looking at all angles when doing this. But again, your business really is, if you're the business owner, this is about your retirement too, not just the day to day.
And I think, that's also about having conversations with your customers, isn't it? Where they go, well, what happens if you did this, or what happens have you thought about this? Because most customers actually are, if they are advocates of you, are always coming up with suggestions, and that's a way that you can grow and expand your products as well, isn't it?
You have to be in contact with your customers. There has to be a lot of communication in the right way. An email every day is not the right way. A special of the week email once a week with some other additional tips and value to it, you have to monitor that too. See if people are unsubscribing. If that's too much, it could be once a month. But find different creative ways to be in contact with them. Fun contests, interact on your. That's where the social media comes in, and get interactive with them on Facebook. Monitor everything, respond back quickly and everything, but just be careful of how you do it. You want to make sure that you are polite and positive, even when someone goes negative on you. I had a client, it's one of my first clients. We didn't get to social media yet when we started. He had no signage. He had there was a banner, and next to the banner was not one but two of the biggest wasps' nests I've ever seen. So people, so it's about twice the size of my my laptop screen was both of these honeycombs, and people were walking into a store with all that. So I'm dealing with all these things, and finally get to look at his Facebook page, and all he did was argue with people the entire time, back and forth, and it was amazing. And I wish I saved it just for the data of not just what not to do, which is criminal for your business to do. And in turn, they turned on him, his people. He was trying to get a liquor license. He was waiting on that. It was a store for German food, and he put a case of a 6-pack of beer on the shelf. And one of these people who couldn't stand him for whatever reason was still shopping at a store, saw it, called the authorities, and he didn't have the full citizenship documentation. So and he went to jail and then was deported.
Right.
That was the end of my clients. But an extreme story of what not to do in communicating. But it also is I've always had a challenge with the term "the customer is always right," because we all know that's not the case. However, the customer deserves to be heard and responded to properly and politely, and that's where the importance is in nurturing these communications, where you then can survey and get their opinions and show them that their opinions matter in the things and changes that you make in your business.
So, we're in difficult times at the moment, with the pandemic and COVID-19. What is it that we can do or is there anything that we can do to basically cut costs but maintain the service?
That is probably business by business. I hate to be the one to say cutting employees, because that's what's made this whole process worse. Those without jobs, without insurance, it's been very challenging for them the last number of months. You have to be strategic in everything you're doing, and you may have to cut down on certain items that are more expensive to bring in, and give some understanding to your customers that it'll be back in bring it back in the fall. A lot of it has to do with distribution is a challenge too. So take advantage of it. If there's a distribution issue, then it could cut your costs temporarily until some of these items are able to come back into the marketplace. But the key is the two words I've always used with the last number of months is communication and pivot. Communicate. Whatever you do, just communicate with your customers. If you tell them, they'll understand. And if there are ways to pivot and bring things online and do some more opportunities online, again, the winery person I mentioned before, he's doing online wine tastings. This is the wine bottle you should buy, and here, let's come to at 7:30. We're all going to talk about this wine and learn more about tastes and everything. He didn't sell them wine. He didn't have to deal with sending them bottles, but he got paid for this conversation. So he was able to pivot and create something out of this.
That's fantastic. I think we all, in this day and age, we have to be innovative in terms of the way that we work. What about if we use interns or something like that? Is that a possibility? Or
that is depending on what the role is, interns can play an extremely fantastic role for your business. One, it's a way for you to give back. One, it's a way to create a relationship with colleges and universities that can really be of value at certain points. But also, if you find the right roles for them, you can cut employees and cut the salary, cut the benefits. And there's some schools that might give a stipend, but a small stipend as opposed to a weekly salary check is really not in the same ballpark. So you have ways to save money in that way. Again, there's challenges with it with the pandemic and sensitivities about cutting staff.
But in terms of coming out and growing, rather than taking on a person, you could take on an intern, and that would give you the ability to step out. And the fact that an intern comes in for 3 months or 6 months, do we need a person in this area? Let's take on an intern for 3 or 6 months. Yeah, we do need a person. Let's go out and get a full-time person. And the intern obviously is going back to college.
And the key to that is having the right person supervise the intern. Because you want to make sure the intern goes on the right path and they know what their tasks are and they're getting it done. And you want to, and look, it's feast or famine sometimes. You may get the greatest intern, you may get above average. I think above average, everyone will be very happy with, or you might get the intern that just is the wrong fit, and you have to figure out either how to address it or move on and find someone else, because you're replacing somebody who should be providing certain efficiencies. And if the intern can't provide the efficiencies, then it's of no value.
So how do we increase our pricing then in the current climate? Is there a way that we can do that?
It's challenging, because you also, again, looking at your customer base. How much of your customer base lost their job? How much of your customer base are living off of unemployment and savings that can't spend what they were going to now? I had a client who was I guess best way to describe her as a party planner, and she had, I remember that day in March, one day it was just calming people's nerves, and then the next day was everyone wanted their deposit back. So there's no way to increase anything when you're giving away all the money in your business account has to go back to people because they're not going to do events. It's a challenge. You have to. That's the one where I feel you have to just pause, and just be sensitive to what's going on. Thankfully, look, the news this morning out of England that Oxford may have the vaccine and has tested things, has really a couple of real markers that they've hit, that they may have it by the end of the year is fantastic news. That's a game changer if everything still plays out and could really fix 2021 so it doesn't feel or look like 2020.
Well, I guess we could go back to the look of the upsells, the cross sales, and that sort of stuff, because if you're adding value, then for example, your wine person who's basically doing wine tasting online, normally you buy a bottle of wine and you drink it and you go, right, okay, was that good? I don't know. Whereas you're getting value, which is, I'm drinking a bottle of wine and this is the person that's actually showing me, there's legs on the glass. Ooh, what's that? Well, that's the way that the way that the wine is made. And oh, right, I didn't know that, and all of that sort of stuff. And then that's creating an experience. And so you're more likely, you'd sell 20 bottles of wine, create an experience, and people pay more for that, probably.
Yeah. Creating value, creating experience is really key. It's developing that relationship with your customer and you finding ways to satisfy what they're looking for. I think it's great what he was telling me about the types of courses he was taking. He was teaching and people were responding to it, because people need things to do. So if you're in that type of industry, you need to figure out the best ways to satisfy what people need and do it. My conversation last night at dinner is that we spent the last number of months doing nothing. We've not gone out. We've not. We figured out some ways to be social and see people by sitting on the lawn and chairs as distances. But we're social people, so trying to create things for the social aspect of your customer and their needs for their business and for their families. Again, if you're looking for additional revenue, either the right bundle and an upsell and downsell and cross sell opportunities to make sure dollars or more dollars are coming in is really your best route right now.
Fantastic, Howard. That's been really insightful and interesting. Do you want to rattle through your 8 strategies again?
Sure. It's how to make advertising work for your small business. And that's really addressing your website and having the right messaging on there. How to downsell your way to wealth, providing that secondary offer. How to build fast using joint ventures, having those relationships to create a contract to get 10% if you're passing leads. How to create a revenue producing drip campaign, the continuation of what you've got. Once you have that email address to start the process of communicating with your customer. How to upsell and cross sell and make big profits. It's always about that supersizing, and do you want fries with that? Stop discounting by offering value through bundling. The discounting will kill your profit margin. So come up with different ways to create valued bundles that people are looking for, expand your products, and increase customer revenue, really trying to assess the right offerings that you're giving to your customers and cutting costs and unnecessary expenses. One is is hiring the intern as opposed to the full-time staff person, and then the other would be raising prices, but would not look at that for 2020.
Howard, that's been fantastic. Really enjoyed that. I love doing these, as I say every time, because I always learn something. It's fantastic. Thank you for that. Remind everybody where they can get hold of you.
All right, ProfitMasterBusinessSolutions.com, Twitter Wolpoff, and Howard Wolpoff on LinkedIn.
And just remember that Wolpoff is spelled Wolpoff, because some people watching English may not be their first language, or maybe Ukrainian isn't their first language. So because we had a discussion before we came on that Howard Wolpoff is actually from Ukraine. So
that's 4 generations past. Yes. Howard,
thank you so much for your time today, and I stay safe in Florida. I know this may, this video may live for a long time, but in Florida with the COVID-19 right now, things are tough. So stay safe, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Tim. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to your audience.
You're welcome. Fantastic. Thanks, Howard. Talk to you soon. Right. Bye. Bye.